The May 11th meeting of the City of Lawrence Redevelopment Commission is hereby called to order. We do have a quorum, thank you very much. And the first thing that we need to address is the approval of the minutes. I'd like to start that discussion by complimenting the person that put the minutes together. Cheryl, I have not inspected these, Cheryl, to standards, but I really like the way this is done. This is a really good summary of what we discussed at the last meeting, in my opinion. With that, if the commissioners have had an opportunity to review it, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Make a motion for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion
Okay, and do we want to
made
do
and seconded.
a roll call vote?
And, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Let's
if we
do
have
that.
to do that.
And we have to
So-
do a roll call vote, and you do that.
Commissioner Clifford?
Approved.
Commissioner Howard? Approved. Commissioner Klein?
Approved.
Commissioner McGregor?
Absolutely.
Okay, and Commissioner Sullivan?
Approved.
Thank you.
One point of procedure, you should list who's here in person and who's here on Zoom for the minutes.
I roll call.
My roll call.
Okay,
You want to do, and this is for attendance,
okay.
okay?
So I'm not familiar with this procedure, so do I just call out their
Just
names
call
and
their
just
name.
say whether they say they're present or via link or Teams?
That's exactly how you do it.
Okay, perfect. Just wait just a
Timing.
minute.
Well, you just made it, Rich.
So do you want to just go ahead and back that up for just a minute and go ahead
Let's say that all the
do the,
All the commissioners are
The
present,
approval.
and we do have a quorum.
perfect.
Thank you very much. Do we still need to call a roll?
You need roll call.
So by,
I still need a roll call.
so for in-person roll call vote, Commissioner Clifford,
Present.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Klein,
Present.
Commissioner McGregor.
Present.
Via Teams, Commissioner Sullivan.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bridge, we've already reviewed and approved the minutes. We are down to appointment of claims, approval of claims and purchase orders for payment. And this month, we have amounts for approval totaling $50,665. Comments from the finance? No additional comments? They're very straightforward. The first is the Garmon Construction Services Bill, which we're all familiar with, and HWC Engineering. And we saw the product of their work at the last meeting. And they probably have done more, but anyway. If there are no further questions from the commissioners, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion for approval.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second, Reginald McGregor.
Commissioner Brady,
Thank you.
second. Roll
I'm going
call.
to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Clifford,
Approved.
Commissioner Howard,
Approved.
Commissioner Klein,
Approved.
Commissioner McGregor,
Approved.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. RDC financial update.
I do not have any updates at this time, other than what you have in front of you. Really, nothing has changed much since the previous month.
All right.
What I can, well, actually, I may have an update for you. I think we will be expecting some revenue in June for the TIF. And I know we got some in January, so the next batch should be coming in June.
June.
Right. And then, but other than that, in terms of operating capital, the 406 and Fund 407,
Right.
we still have the operating cash is 2.8. That's at your disposal. Unless you guys.
The additional revenues come in such time for June that they'll be reflected in the report?
They will be reflected when they come in. We're expecting them in June because historically they've been coming in June.
Okay.
They won't reflect till July.
So I will present them in July, but it will be as of June, if they come in June.
I got you.
As of when we would get them.
Very good. And if there's no further discussion concerning the financial report, I would thank you very much for that.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Next order of business is we're back to old business, CSX drainage ditch update. Mr. Zerner.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and those in attendance. CSX drainage ditch update. Everything has been signed off on. The permits have all been obtained. The staking of the right-of-ways have been taken care of. The arrangements have been made with CSX, and I would expect construction to begin any day. So I don't see that lingering very long. I would think that we'll have that wrapped up probably by our July meeting. So that's where I see that standing. If I may, I'll just proceed.
Please.
NDOT Pendleton Pike project. Everything has been worked through there with the city safety, and NDOT. That project is set to commence in 2024, fairly early. EPA Brownfields grant, we have a balance of approximately $43,000 left out of the original $300,000 grant. I did talk to EPA this week, and they said they thought they would be making rulings on the grant applications by early June at the latest. And I'll remind you that we have an application in for $400,000 of additional grant that I primarily believe would be used as we explore right-of-way and all in the trades district moving forward. The EV charging grant, we did have our kickoff meeting. Commissioner Sullivan and Clifford attended that meeting. Considerable discussion occurred. Schedules were presented. That's currently scheduled to wrap up before Christmas in some. I thought it was an extremely good meeting. We'll have a lot to report on that coming up, including public sessions and people being surveyed, and there's just a lot of activity going on in that. I have since had a discussion with Racetrack and forwarded their contact information because from this private sector they'd like to be able to contribute to that grant in terms of information and what they want to do. So that was a subsequent thing I've done. 4399 Shadeland, I'm going to turn this over to Councilor Sturwald. I think he's invited people that wish to submit an offer for that property. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. 4399 Shadeland is the one that we're doing with Joe Flora. Daniel Harding, the real estate attorney that works with Adam, he had the nerve for he and his wife to have a baby. So they haven't gotten that done. But Adam assures me there's no issues. It's just a matter of getting things checked off, and we've given Joe access to the site to work through his details, so I don't see any issues with that at all. So with that, I'll go to 10160 56th Street. I will advise everyone, including those that wish to make an offer, that we have an existing approved sale to 10160 56th Street to Indy Luxury Motorsports. They've been non-responsive to the agreement at this point, and basically have just gone into a hole where there's no communication. So if we like what we hear today, we can rescind that and proceed down a different route because these people have come to the table. So with that, Mr. Sturwald. You want to invite?
Yeah, we invite the other offer to present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and other members of the board. My name is Adam Hoffer. I'm with HRH Consulting. I'm here to represent SMS Logistics, and we're working with them for the engineering and surveying for the potential of, the East 56th Street. Sent out a small packet earlier today, which is what you'll see in front of you. The first part, which is the colored rendering, that would be more or less just a rough idea of what the building could potentially look like. Unfortunately, we kind of tried to put this together a little bit at the last minute since we were aware that we were going to be speaking to this, so I apologize. And then the other two parcels, or the other two conceptuals on the 11 by 17 are some potential layout concepts that we're hoping for should the commissioners be amicable to the purchase of the property by my client.
So is the proposed 0.30 acres, is that East Side Welding?
Yes, sir. So we, before finding out that the 10160 was potentially up for sale, we had talked with Eastside Welding about procuring their site. That is still something that we're hoping for. At this point, he has not made any indication that he's going to confirm selling the property, but we have talked to him about potentially purchasing the north third acre. That would be to help with moving from an underground detention storage to potentially an above-ground detention storage. That also grants access to stormwater runoff being potentially popped to there's a watershed area to the north. So that was another possibility based off of stormwater that we did as a preliminary research.
So Dan Zerner, consultant to the RDC. First of all, I want to thank you all for your interest in your offer in general.
Appreciate it.
The cities, as their consultant and the guy that actually identified this piece of property and how we could make the city look better and make it functional, the city's interest in this is not only to clean it up, but to give some eye appeal to that piece of site in that real important corner. My only concern right now is that, and I understand this is just a general rendering, so I'm not being critical.
That's fine.
But I also sit on the staffing and sign the staff reports for zoning and acceptance of building permits and those sorts of things. I don't think we're interested in a building that just provides or has a standard metal siding appearance.
Okay.
And that's what this is, pretty plain and vanilla. That's the way it's illustrated, but I understand you're just throwing something together in a hurry.
Yes, sir.
So in my mind, unless it would at the very minimum need brick or stone as a wainscot to the bottom with maybe a limestone sill at least coming up to the windows, maybe some architectural panels in the front, something that really dresses this up given the nature of that particular intersection and what we're trying to do,
Okay.
at least on the front side.
Sure.
With some landscaping and parking lot striping and all that really changes the perception of that corner. As long as you understand that, my understanding is your offer is for $130,000. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. Yes. And we do understand. Again, this, as you had pointed out, this was very rough sketch based off of just standard EFIS and what we had available at the time to put this together. So we can certainly work on this.
Fine. Well, I just want to be sure that there's no misconception that we're not looking for an industrial appearance here or a metal agricultural type siding. That's not our interest at all.
Yes, sir.
So with that, do any of the commissioners have any further questions? And then I'll give you my recommendation.
Well, I just asked Commissioner Klein here that as the plot plans provided don't have necessarily building dimensions on them, and you've provided looks like a couple of options, one of two or versus the two of two. Is there one of those that you'd be leaning to as far as, again, kind of the view of what would be from Pike in that area? Is that, or is it early for that?
It might be a little early. Part of it is that there was a third option that I did not print, and I did not print it solely because it utilizes the 0.3 acres to the back. And in which case, then it would take effectively option 2, rotating it 90 degrees clockwise. So it would put the long of the building toward the eastmost line. That would also be more indicative of not having the servicing bays directly viewable to the public right away. So it'd be more of a beautified landscape, and also with some additional exterior recommendations, brick siding, some sort of wainscot, things like that. We could beautify that corner a little bit more. So at this point, just based solely on this parcel is what we put it out to, because of the size of the site and kind of how it's procured or placed. I would say option 1 would potentially be the more lean-to one, only because it puts the length of the building towards the long straight side of the property.
Gotcha. What is that total width ability there? Again, without the dimensions on there, I see the setbacks, but as far as the actual buildable width of...
I want to say it was 120 feet, and I apologize that did not make it onto this draft.
Okay. What I do like about the one that shows the long side of the building along the west side is that is up against the waste disposal business and the access east side, and I think that would help considerably clean the property up.
Agree.
Other questions?
Cheryl, do you have a copy of what we're talking about? I can't.
I think you're on mute.
Mute? Sorry.
I do not have a copy of it. I was looking actually on the notice of the meeting to see if it was attached.
I sent that out, Cheryl, about 3 o'clock by email.
In
Okay.
your email.
Should be in your email. I sent it out about 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I did not see that.
Okay, I just wondered if you had it in front of you or not. Okay.
I have not.
Reg, any questions?
Just talk a little bit about the nature of the business,
Sure, the nature of the business.
everything, yep.
Yes, so the nature of the business is going to be for a, what would be considered a heavy truck servicing facility, being tractor trailers, semi-trucks, things like that. It would most likely be just for tires, general repair, things along those natures. It will not be a parking lot. It will not be a pay-to-park. I want to make sure that it's very, very clear. The second floor, second story, so based off of the renderings, is where there's going to be a corporate administration office for SMS logistics for import-export. He plans on utilizing that roughly 4,000 to 5,000 square feet for his corporate office headquarters. So downstairs, obviously, we're looking at somewhere between, I think, 5 to 7 bays, potentially an 8th bay, depending on, sizing requirements.
What is the height of the building?
Height of the building, I believe, was 30 feet.
I would think it'd need to be.
It would obviously will depend also, once we get done with the renderings, should council approve, that, we'll change height styles a little bit to accommodate for additional architectural styles.
I will point out to the commission that this is zoned industrial, which is one of the reasons it appeals to them.
Yeah, without having to worry about going through any rezoning. Operating hours would standard 8 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday.
But it's not a storage facility of sort, looking at the website and what SMS indicates as Indiana-based company exporting and importing metals, tires, and more?
Correct. This is not, this is purely for truck servicing, and then the second floor will be for their basically corporate office operations.
So my recommendation is as follows to council and to the commission. My first recommendation is that we rescind per notice to Indy Luxury Motorsports the approval that we gave 2 months ago for their offer. My second recommendation, and would request a motion of support and vote, is that we authorize Councilor Sturwald to draft and execute a purchase and sale agreement for the real estate for $130,000 with a $10,000 deposit going into escrow to the title company. Also, that purchase and sale agreement prior to execution would be subject to the submission of an acceptable schematic plan for both the site and the building.
Explain the approval process there, Nick.
Pardon?
On the third thing that you mentioned,
Even though the
the approval part.
even though the city itself has permitting authority, I think the RDC's development of this has been so in-depth that we'll want to personally take a role in being sure this is going to be what we want it to be.
So it's RDC, and it would actually come back to the.
As part of this purchase and sale agreement, before we close, we want to see a schematic, site plan, elevation, and rendering of what this building is really going to be. And in that purchase agreement, a commitment to not store in the front of this building any tires, debris, things that are associated, that we all would perceive to be negative. Does that make sense?
Any comments on that?
Maybe just the addition of a landscape plan?
Yes. I'm assuming we'll get that as part of the schematic, yes.
Then are we on a tight timeline? Start come back to us next month?
Well, my suggestion is if we incorporate this in the purchase and sale agreement, that then behooves them before they can close that gets done. So I think this could probably take 60 days for them to get this all done. That's my thought, Reggie.
So does that mean that it could come back?
Well, it'll have to come back. We'll have to approve the purchase and sale agreement.
Right. Okay, so
You can, nice, jump in on that real
Commissioner.
fast.
the Does that satisfy with where you're headed with it?
Let's Adam comment that.
Yeah, there's really two ways that we could do this. Option one is you have a purchase and sale agreement that includes the schematic and renderings and everything that you want to see, and says if they ever want to change, they got to get your approval for those changes. Or there is the purchase and sale agreement, option number two, where you don't include that, but you say prior to the closing, you have to submit and we have to approve the schematics and renderings. Given the timing, I like, oh, do you have?
Go ahead, finish what you were going to say.
I was going to say, I like number one option better, because you already have that in advance. If that is a timing constraint.
I like option two because I think we're committing to the sale of the property to these people up front as long as they provide us what we agree to approve on. And I don't think we have to commit to a time frame. It's when they're ready to close, and we might say that we want this completed inside of 60 days, just for our own benefit. But I don't think, to Commissioner McGregor's, I don't think we're anxious to rush this till we see what we have.
Correct. Plus, there's lesson learned from the first time we went through this.
That's right. Yeah. So my recommendation is option two with a 60-day time frame for them to produce the documents and come back for closing. That meets your approval, council.
I'm not clear on the pros and cons of 1 and 2. What's the?
One's just get it here, then we produce this purchase and sale document. But in my mind, we're in limbo, and somebody else could come in and place a commitment for this in that time frame. I don't think it's fair for them to go through the process of going all this done without us giving a commitment that if they produce it right, that we'll accept it. That's, if I'm in their shoes, I would want option two.
Makes sense.
So, if everybody's in agreement, I would like to have a motion and approval for Councilor Sturwald to.
Let's first get a motion to set aside what we've already approved.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so can I have a motion to set aside Quality Motorsports or Luxury Motorsports?
So moved. So moved.
Yeah.
Moved, seconded?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will do, yes.
It's a roll call vote.
All in favor of, well, let's do a roll call vote.
So we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Clifford,
Approved.
Commissioner Howard,
Approved.
Commissioner Klein,
Approved.
Commissioner McGregor, Commissioner Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to have a motion to allow our Councilor Sturwald and Barnes and Thornburg to work in the drafting of a purchase and sale agreement in consideration of a offer of $130,000 from SMS. Is it SMS Incorporated? SMS
Incorporated is the.
SMS Incorporated to purchase the 10160 56th Street property. And as part of that, they will submit schematic plans and site plans and elevation and landscape plan prior to closing, which needs to occur within 60 days.
And all that would be called?
In the purchase sale agreement.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So moved, Reginald McGregor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting?
Roll call vote. Commissioner Clifford,
Approved.
Commissioner Howard,
Approved.
Commissioner Klein,
Approved.
Commissioner McGregor,
Approved.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And you two have each other's contact information, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a great afternoon.
Okay, now JMT Development, the Kaido property, that's the one where we're waiting on Dan Harding and other Barnes real estate attorneys to complete the purchase and sale agreement we authorized a month ago. I'm sorry, item number 8 should not have made it on the agenda. That's been closed out. And I'll be sure it comes off future agendas. And here we come to Mills Freegee dedicated parking status. It's been on here for about a year. I called Tim Oakes a half hour ago, and he said it's still waiting on Mike Webster's signature. That's all it's waiting on. Said his next door neighbor, he's going to walk over there tonight and either get the documents or take him new ones and have him sign it. So we'll get that off the agenda this next month. New business and things to share. Purple Line traffic. I want to make you aware that Post Road is going to be closed. Corey, be sure I'm right, the northbound lane, correct?
Yeah, it'll just only southbound will be open.
Only southbound will be open starting June the 5th between 56th Street and Pendleton Pike, and that'll be for 60 days. So that's going to cause quite a bit of issues for people along that route, plus it happens to be right in front of our police station. But I want to make you all aware that that's getting ready to happen, and the Purple Line project is getting close to completion and terminating in Lawrence. I will also share with you that there was a group approached the city about another extended stay hotel on Post Road, just south of 56th Street, and I recommended against it because we don't need another extended stay hotel like we have over on Pendleton Pike. If it was a nice, beautiful hotel, it might be worth some consideration than a premium hotel, but that just didn't fit what we wanted to do. As a matter of Trades District update, we're all on hold with that right now after having received HWC's preliminary report, although I have asked them for a full engineering proposal to develop the design documents and construction documents so we know what the cost of that is and can start to anticipate. And it's my thought that we may take that to the council yet this fall to see where they fit in on that. Next thing I want to speak to you about is Ready 2. There is a new initiative by IDC for Ready grants. This time it's totally different. Even though it's a regional commitment, it's individual city awards for special projects, and it doesn't have any limit to the amount that they could yield for any one project. David Hoffman and I are working to submit the Trades District as our project, and it's conceivable, probably not likely, that we could get several millions of dollars towards the Trades District in grant funding. So we're making that effort right now and participating in the various meetings that go along with that.
And can you elaborate on that a little bit, Dan? What makes it conceivable but not likely? Is that what you said?
No, it's very likely that we could get funding.
Okay.
But it's the conceivable amount is how much.
Okay.
Because if you listen to IDC, they say there's no limit. So, you could say that theoretically we could get all $15 million funded. I really don't think that's likely. But in my mind, if we could get enough money that we combine it with other funds that we have in our bonding funds, I think we've got enough to match and show that if we got a 20% match using the funds that we have, the bonds was issued, that we could possibly get $10 million. So I don't know what the amount is. I don't want it to go on the record that I'm exclaiming that we have this great big amount of money available to us or that we'll even win. But I think our project will stack up really well. The last time they submitted all things related to White River, and even though we were in the district, we didn't have the White River. We didn't have anything to submit. That requirement's gone off now, and it's a totally new ball game, so I think there's some potential that we've got a really nice project to submit that we could get some fairly significant funding. So we're in the middle of that. Other than that, I really don't have anything else for the group, but I'll take your questions if there's anything else you have for me. Along with the Ready funding, I will tell you that on your behalf, I am attending the Ready regional meeting, which is leading up. They're expected to open this round of applications in June. It's in Fort Wayne on June the 22nd. I'll be attending on your behalf. Anything else for the group, from my perspective? Oh, I do have one more thing. She's always got something for you. I want to invite Corey Korn to the microphone as Chief of Staff to see if she has anything to share with you. She always does.
I just want to make sure I invite everyone out to Fiesta Lawrence. It is taking place at the Cultural Campus this Saturday from 12 to 4. We have about 45 vendors there, music the whole time, dancing, lots of good stuff. So come out and have a good time. And then additionally, don't forget the Farmers Market opens on June 1st from 4 to 7, and that also is at the Fort Bend Cultural Campus.
Thank you, Corey, very much. So with that, Mr. Clifford, back to you.
Thank you very much. And if there is no additional business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Seconded, moved and seconded. Do we do a roll?
Do a roll call vote?
We do.
Commissioner Clifford?
Approved.
Commissioner Howard?
Approved.
Commissioner Klein?
Approved.
Commissioner McGregor?
Approved.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Approved.
Great to see you all. Thank you for all being here. And thank you to you all.